Can you believe we're sitting here at North Wilkesboro Speedway and they just raced here?
Not really. I had to put it in my GPS, had to get back up here. I hadn't been here since '96. I thought, you know what, I think I know how to get there, but I went ahead and put it in my phone. I drove right to it that way, but yeah, I can't believe that we're here. I can't believe they ever raced again here. It's crazy.
And you had to have been in grammar school when we raced here last.
Yes. Actually, well, no, I just graduated high school in '96.
Did you watch the race?
Sure. Oh,
Did?
yeah.
Do you know who won it, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Now, there were 2 races that year.
Now, I know that, and you know, the
Okay.
other night somebody
Don't
reminded me
forget
about
about
that
it. Don't
because you
forget
won the
the other.
spring race.
That's right.
So kind of swept
Y'all
that.
finished second.
Hendrick won both of them.
Yeah, well, I guess Rick must have said, Terry, let them guys have one there at the end.
Yeah. He felt sorry for y'all.
Yeah, they had to that year, you know.
You
well,
won,
that's
you won
he
2
beat,
here, right?
Well, he not only he beat us for the championship too.
Yeah.
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 That's how we got that name. He was kind of, to me, he was the Iron Man, not the Iceman, because you ran the last 2 races with a broken hand, right?
Yeah.
Broke his hand in a.
Throttle hung. The car that we had at Wilkesboro when we won the spring race, Rick took it and put it in the museum.
Did he really?
Because it was the Iron Man car.
Oh
It had the special paint scheme on it.
yeah.
So Rick took it and put it in the museum. And so that was like one of our best cars. And so we got down to the end and went to Phoenix. And before Phoenix, I told him, I said, man, I need that car back, you know? And so we got it out of the museum, the guys went through it, got it ready to go. And I made a lap, the first lap on the track at Phoenix. And Gary gave me my time. I thought, oh, that wasn't nothing. Wait till this lap, because I wasn't really going, hard. And I went down and turned 3 and the throttle hung. And about the time I got the clutch pushed in and the switch off, I hit the wall and broke my hand. So I ran Phoenix and Atlanta with a broken hand.
So it was. You think it was anything somebody left in there from the museum? Maybe
I
a
don't-
pamphlet or a
it
hat
could
or
have been.
something like that.
I'm not sure what it was.
I remember that. That was a tough hit, And come back and still ran in the top 5 or something the next day. You ran good there, right?
We did, yeah.
Or
I think, yeah, I can't remember where we finished, 3rd or 5th or something. We had to start in the back with the backup car.
driving one hand.
Yeah. Well, I tell you,
Medicated.
I was medicated. this guy comes out there and he gives me a shot in my hand. And he did it the first day to practice on Saturday. I thought, okay, well, that wasn't bad. The second day it hurt a lot more. And he told me, so I knew it was going to hurt more the second day, but I didn't want to tell you. And so anyway, he said, hey, you might have to have surgery in this hand when you get home. I said, well, I'll worry about that when I get home. But so anyway, so it helped a lot.
And then we went straight to Atlanta and you won the championship there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
Lucky day.
yeah. And I needed a shot. I needed a shot of the moonshine after that day. And you won here too, right? You won in the modified here.
Yeah, last fall.
That was pretty cool. Modifieds were one of the first cars to come back here, right?
Yeah, that was the first race.
First race.
Yes.
Wow. What was that like running an open wheel, open cockpit? Well, not really open cockpit,
Yeah,
but they don't have much of a windshield.
Yeah, it was not really just guessing what the racetrack was going to be like, because not only it was old because it had sat for so long after it had already been aged. So we didn't know if we were going to rip the racetrack up, being out there with 30 cars with big old sticky gumball tires, or what was going to happen. And then the pace that we decided to run was dictated by the front row, and that was dictated off of qualifying invert. So the guys that were the quickest, that had all their stuff together, didn't even get to dictate what we were going to do. So we started running basically 2 seconds off of what we qualified, just super slow. But from the fan standpoint, after me watching the race afterwards, it looked really cool because we were all side by side, but we were just off pace and not sliding a tire. And then we got a caution, I think, on lap 28. And then after that, it was
on
green to 50, which at that point I think we were 3rd or something like that, and got to the lead right towards the end and held off the rest of them. But just really cool because not knowing how significant it was going to be to have that revival. Because you make an attempt at a revival weekend doesn't mean it's going to be successful, and the energy the fans had was just amazing prior to the race, and then especially afterwards. And when I was standing on top of the infield tower there after taking the elevator ride, and Dale Jr. comes up and shakes my hand, I mean, that's pretty special. Not because just of him, but because of the history of the racetrack, what he did to be a part of it, and obviously his dad and his family's significance in this area was really special. And I made a personal dedication to Benny Parsons, knowing how much it meant for Terry Parsons to be here, and Benny's wishes of having the Wilkesboro racetrack revived. So that was pretty special for me.
And it is really special when you look at what they did to bring this place back. I mean, Terry and Benny Jr. and Jeff Hammond, and a lot of different people involved in, Marcus and the whole state of North Carolina. But to think about how you couldn't go anywhere in North Wilkesboro for a while without seeing a sign that said "Bring back the Speedway," and you're thinking that'd be really, really cool. But they did it. I mean, it's pretty amazing when you think about what this place looked like the other night. It honestly was incredible being here.
It was incredible watching on TV too. I mean, it was really a good show, and it was amazing to see the race at Wilkesboro. I mean, I never dreamed of having one here. I figured it'd be demolished and turned into farmland or something, But it was really nice to see everybody put that effort together to make it all happen. It certainly wasn't easy, but they did a really nice job.
I think it's amazing looking at the history of how it happened. So the racetrack was bought for the date, right? Let's take it someplace else. We're done with Wilkesboro. Let's go to another market. And then here we are, whatever it is, 20 plus years later, talking about how cool it is to be back.
Well, they always say what's old is new again, and history and stuff like that.
But it was untouched, like literally, like the racetrack. Nobody covered it up. It just had trees growing up through it, and all that was fixed. And like even last fall, I mean, we raced. Like it was just the billboards were the same billboards. It still said Tyson. I mean, the bearings still spun on the.
Well, they still had the number deal that that had to work. The guy just had to work a lot faster, I'm sure, with the modified race than anyone. One of the things I had forgotten about here is how far downhill, how far uphill it is. Because on the pit stops, if you didn't take care of your tires, they'd just roll away. And I saw it happen to a couple guys the other night. I mean, you go downhill a good bit into turn one, right?
That's right, yeah. Yeah, I can remember racing here back when they didn't have a pit wall. Okay, and the transporters were backed up to pit road right there. And you pitted right there behind your truck, behind your hauler.
Oh, just backed it up to
The haulers were backed up to pit road, and that's where you made your pit stop. You'd come right in there. There was no pit wall or nothing. Now, there was a wall out here between the track and pit road, but there was no pit wall your guys jumped over. They just ran around the car.
And so in the back of the truck there, is that where Junior kept those wheels that were on that 11 car that time then you guys?
That was when Darryl drove it.
Oh, that was when Darryl drove it. That wasn't you, that was Darryl?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I thought somehow that some heavy wheels got put on your car for inspection.
I don't remember that. I'd heard about them. I thought
there was a story,
car.
It might not have been you, it might not have been Darryl, but I just heard one time that somebody had some heavy wheels, and after the first, maybe it was Cale,
yeah,
might have been Cale.
It was one of those guys.
And there was no early caution to get them off, so that person had to stop kind of on the racetrack and get in and get those heavy wheels off. And then after they got the heavy wheels off, they came back and unlapped themselves and won the race. I'll have to go back and look at the video.
You have to look at the videos of that. I can't remember who it was.
We used to have a lot of fun here, but it was so hard to call a race here because if somebody you could be leading.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And if the guys behind you short pitted and you didn't short pit, you could end up a lap down. You'd be riding along thinking, we got this, and end up being a lap down from the leader.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I remember one time we were up here, and I can't remember what happened, but Dale and I pitted, okay, and everybody else stayed out. For some reason, I don't know why we pitted. And so we were started at the back. Of course, we had new tires on. And I was driving Hagen's car at the time, and the green came out, and we ran. Caution came back out, and Billy came on the radio, and he says, "Man, I don't know what you guys are doing," but he said, you and that three are coming to the front, just hang with him. And I said, it's all I can do to miss the people he's knocking out of the way, man.
He was tough. I mean, it's different now. They put that wall down there because, they added some pits. And I said to Jeff, we used to be able to stand down there in the pit and Earnhardt come down into the corner and hit flat, and you could just see like his helmet. He gets just the top of his helmet leaning on the door, and every time that Jeff was catching him and had to pass him, I was sweating bullets because I thought we're going to get a fender ripped off here, we're going to get the toe knocked out or something like that. But it was so cool to be able to be that close to them getting into one,
Yeah. but it definitely looked a little bit different with that wall in there.
Yeah.
So.
And what did it mean to you, Ryan? You know, you said you saw that race. You had just graduated high school, but now you got to run here in the modified, and you got to run here in the Cup car. Did you run the truck here too?
No.
No.
Just
but so you've run the Cup car and the modified.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, the biggest thing was the difference in the racetrack because they put those the grip spots on the racetrack. So the modified, that wasn't there. With the Cup car, it was. So it really kind of changed the dynamic of.
So was it better without it, or
well, with those patches or whatever, the dark spots, there was a ton of grip, but you could only use them in certain spots, and the guy that you were trying to pass was probably in them, so you had to kind of, you know, get away from them to be able to pass somebody in the Cup car, which it wasn't an issue with the modified because they weren't there. So that was the biggest change for me. But you know, just it's so slick until you hit those spots, and those spots are still slick, but they're just not near as slick as the original racetrack.
So when you were getting ready to retire, when you were coming up, but do you guys ever race a short track together?
Oh, we did. Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
What did we have left? Martinsville, Richmond.
Yeah, Martinsville, Richmond, Bristol.
Yeah. And you still getting along? There was not or is that? Do you just forget about that stuff? No rubbing his racing stories between you two guys?
I don't think we had any stories.
No.
Really? Yeah. You got along way too good with a lot of people.
Yeah, there was a few people I didn't get along too good with. Most of them I did.
We were at Bristol one night, and I was at that time getting ready to move out of the 24 car and into a leadership position, if you will, at Hendrick. And there was a little incident between you and Dale Earnhardt at Bristol.
Which time?
Well, you actually won the race.
What year was this?
Oh no, maybe you didn't win that one. Maybe you didn't win that one. He spun you on the backstretch with that
That's
one. One
right,
you wrecked. Yeah. He wrecked you on the fronts. One he wrecked you on the back, and you would have run. But that was one. Rick Hendrick said you need to go with Terry and Randy Dorton and handle this one. So that was my first time that I got on the wrong side of Mike Helton, but because we were demanding that they needed to do something, and they kind of told us how it was gonna go that night.
You know, after that happened, I got out of my car and walked to the truck, and I can't remember, somebody interviewed me, and I had people say, "Man, I can't believe how calm you were just after that," you know. And I said, "Well, to tell you the truth, I was sitting there in the back straightaway, and I had it timed perfect. I had my car cranked back up. I had it timed perfect. And I knew that 3 car was going to victory lane, but that 5 car would be stuck in the side of it. And I had it timed perfect, and man, I gave it the gas and popped the clutch, and reverse gear tore out of that thing. The car moved about a ½ inch. So it's like, oh well. So then I just kind of, all the wind blew out of my sail then, and I just walked to my trailer. But the funniest part about the whole deal was the next weekend. It never fails, you know, when you have a little conflict with somebody or something. And the next weekend, we go to driver introduction, and Dale and I qualify like 7th and 8th. You know, we're like right beside each other. So we go down to driver introduction, and I'm standing there, and I kind of turn around, and there's Dale standing behind me. And I looked at Dale, and he looked at me, and John Andretti is standing between us. And John looked at both of us, and he says, "I'm standing in the wrong place." And so we just all started laughing, you know. This was kind of over it then at that point, but it was just pretty funny. But John kind of was one that broke the ice on it, I guess, for us.
You know, those rivalries, when you look back, you know, they didn't really last long. But some of them got pretty big until you know, the owners had to get involved and calm things down. I remember when Mr. H talks about how Dale and Jeff Bodine. That's why I was hoping we'd get to talk to Jeff, but that was a pretty big rivalry. Did you get caught up in any of that?
No, I got to witness it though. That'd be like knowing there's a rattlesnake in your sleeping bag, you're gonna climb in it anyway, you know. So
when you were coming up, you know, through your early career, who was the toughest guy you had to run with on the short tracks?
I think Dale Jr. was the guy that was known for, you know, rubbins racing and 8 tires are better than 4. And we never had any big issues, but I do remember a Martinsville race where he had I had the rear bumper ripped off and he had the nose ripped off, and he had his radiator touching my fuel tank like every corner. It never shook me loose. I just remember that one for some reason. But I mean, he was known for shaking a guy out of his way, and we never really had a really hard run in like that. I mean, we, would rub each other just a little bit, but he was a tough short track racer. Dale Jr. was tough.
I was watching some highlights the other night, and obviously you were in a couple, and you were in a couple too, but I think you and Clint Boyer had a discussion on pit road one time that it actually ended up being a little comical.
Yeah, that was after the All-Star race in 19. And he decided to crash himself across my nose after the race.
Decided to crash himself across your nose after. That was like when Bobby Allison still swears that Cale ran his face into Bobby's fist. It wasn't Bobby's fault.
Yeah, that was probably the smartest I've ever seen Clint, was when he left his helmet on to fight me.
Yeah.
They take that stuff a lot more serious now than they used to, but they're starting to let them guys get out and shove and push around a little bit. I mean, you think it's good to stop that? Felt like drivers were pretty censored for a while. Let them kind of be themselves again. And again, I know you said that you didn't do much of that, but when we were on the IROC series one time, I know Bobby Rahal kind of got you a little bit upset, and you said, "Who's driving that car right there?" We were at Riverside, I think. You went down and had a conversation with Bobby Rahal, and I remember you.
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
no.
you were giving him directions to the back gate or something, because you were pretty.
No, that's not exactly right.
No, who was it?
I don't remember, but I do remember what happened with Rahal, and I spun him out, and I didn't mean to.
Of course not.
And I thought, this guy won Indy 500, and I spun him out at Riverside, right? I'm like, oh God. And so pulled in after the race, and everybody parked on pit road, and everybody got out of the car, and he sat on his fender of his car looking the other way, and I thought, good. So I said, this won't be too bad then. So, but no, I don't think I really I got mad at IROC one time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was I there?
Yeah, you were there.
Man.
They were at Daytona.
Yeah.
And they
when you threw your fire suit in the car.
That's right, yeah. And Al Jr. and I were running first and second, and y'all let some of the guys come in and get tires, and we didn't get tires, and we ended up we didn't finish first and second, And so
did you want to because there's a little bit more to that story. You were pretty vocal and did some you told Jay I think. But,
what I thought.
You told him what you thought, and when we were all pretty sure what you thought when you rolled up your fire suit and threw it in the trash barrel.
Yeah, that's right. Schrader comes over and he said, "That's a perfectly good fire suit. Can I get it?" I said, "Yeah, go ahead."
I think back in the day, though, and I would say back in the day from when I started, you just kind of had a conversation at the next racetrack. Beside the trailer, in front of the trailer, in the trailer, you would talk about it man to man first. And if it happened again, then you took action upon it, whether it was physical or with your race car or whatever. But I think more so back in the day, guys would communicate about their frustrations.
Yeah.
Now they go to their thumbs
They
and start
send
typing stuff.
a text now.
Yeah, and it lost some of its personality. And I think that's the challenging part of it.
So you think it's probably better, that it used to be great when we'd get called to the red and white hall, and you never knew what what was going to be in there. You had a pretty intense conversation with another driver in that hall at one time.
Yeah.
I think a rumor has that might be the same rumor about Terry, bumping people and stuff like that, or not being able to remember the heavy wheels. But rumor has it there was actually a brawl in that trailer.
I wouldn't say it was a brawl. It was a one and done kind of a deal. Yeah, it was expensive, but I learned afterwards that what happens in the trailer stays in the trailer is not always the truth, because sometimes you have to go to the bank afterwards.
It got out pretty quick. Oh yeah. On the double secret probation fines, you realize that I think they told me I was on probation forever for 1995 when the wheel came off at Charlotte, which was my fault. But I've never really been let off probation, so I think I don't think I can ever even go back and be like a crew chief, because, or if I had one incident, I would be out. Yeah. Which, the way inspection and everything's done now, I would push the car into inspection and it'd be just ejected from the racetrack.
They would not let you push a car in inspection. There's no way. They know better than that.
I couldn't race anymore either. Like my dad and I, we used to run their bush cars back then. And I'm like, we couldn't do that. We couldn't race today. We'd have to tweet or text to all our friends or fans or whatever they do, tweet or whatever, that, yeah, we're in sensitivity training again. So, we said the wrong thing, or, you can't. It's not near as much
I missed
fun
the
as
technology part of it somewhere. I sat on the pit box the other night and watched the technology that they have, simulation and the way they're communicating, and this, and the crew chief's telling the driver, you need X amount more brake pressure and your RPM and your throttle, and I was like, JG would have told me, shut up and let me drive. Unbelievably amount of data up on the pit box.
Really.
I would like to see them give these guys more tools, more adjustments that they can have with the cars. We used to be able, all of our stuff was plus or minus a half, wheelbase, tread width, height here and there. You could do so many different things. With everything being the same, they're within thousandths of an inch, and they were making 15 thousandths of an inch adjustments on splitters the other night, and I was like, I can't even measure that. If I can't pick it up with one of the black lines on the tape measure, we just got to do something else.
I had a little bit of a brain hiccup, I guess you could say. When I went to Darlington for the first time, we were talking about adjustments in the car, and it hadn't occurred to me because I had been so removed since 2021 when my last race was in this new car about adjustments. I said, well, you can still do track bar adjustments, right? And they're like, we don't have a track bar. Like, what do you do if you can't make that adjustment? That's a big adjustment. That's a big tool.
No roll center change in the back of those things.
No, nothing. Can't do that. And that's nothing to adjust during the race.
No.
Other than wedge and some air pressure.
And that, that wedge and air pressure, that's it. No wheel spacers, none of that.
You better be awful close when you unload, So.
Well, everything's simulation. So I thought we should bring back, what do you think about the seniors series, right? But we've all got to be ex-racers, okay? And the biggest sway bar you can have is 1 1/8 inches. That's your big. I think that.
Because you'd end up with 2 of them in
there.
You'd have 2 1 1/8 bars. I know you.
I would be I would be the competition director. I'd be the guy in there. You'd have to go through inspection. So since I know everything they're going to do, I would just disallow it. And then I'd let the drivers get out if you wanted to fight. You're so old, you're not going to. I mean, I know what I think I can do, but my body tells me I can't do that anymore. So how long are they going to fight? 30 seconds?
You talked about that sway bar thing. I can remember back in 1986, we went to Martinsville, and we had this guy helping us, and he wanted to try some different stuff on our car. And we ran that race and it ran good until our engine blew up. And we had no sway bar.
No sway bar?
No sway bar.
At all?
One guy on my crew said, I don't know about this. This is kind of messed up. He said, the guy over there has got 1 1/4 bar, and we don't have one. We didn't have a sway bar.
And how did it stay? Because
it had a big right rear spring in it.
Oh, big right rear spring, no bar.
And,
gotcha.
But it would, man, we tried it again. Went back up there, we couldn't make it work again. So, but we ran until our engine blew up. The race with no sway bar.
I got mad one time when they told us, remember they took the rear bar away from us because we had and I said, the heck with it, I'm going to take the front bar out too. And I tried it at Loudon and practice, and Jeff's like, I don't know about, and the thing was over and lifted the front end up and all that stuff, and the left front spring fell out and got sideways, and the car banged back down on it, and he came in the garage area. Like he said, don't do that anymore. So we had to hook it back up. But man, you got it to work. Big right rear spring at Martinsville. I bet that thing turned to center.
It did. It was good, yeah.
And you guys you brought in a lot of that stuff early at the Penske times with the big sway bars and the platform. You and Matt did a lot of that stuff. Take a while to work that out, or did you work that out on the ARCA car?
A little bit of everything. So just with the testing that we had, because it was open testing back then.
Yep.
We had ARCA tests, bush tests, cup tests. So we were doing all kinds of stuff. And our ARCA car was the same as our cup car. We just changed the spoiler on it. So we got a lot of laps working on, and mostly Matt's whole concept was platform and pitch. The car just kept performing better and better and better when you put the pitch to it. So back up, front down, and you know, when we figured out how to tie it down with some shocks, once we got it down with some springs, then we got the qualifying really, really good. So that conjunction with sciencing out the tires, I always joke when I say it, but I'm serious as can be, the only thing that touches the racetrack are the tires. So it doesn't matter how good your car is, but if the tires aren't right, you know, just it's not gonna work. So we spent a lot of time doing pressure runs, you know, back-to-back sticker runs with different pressures, mock qualifying runs, things like that, that really helped a lot. So.
Well, it must have, a lot of polls. So you tested qualifying runs when you were at the racetrack?
Yes.
Testing the specific.
When we tested, we would typically finish the tests with mock qualifying runs.
What was, you know, there were some tracks we used to like to go test, and then other tracks really didn't. What was your favorite track to test?
Always Darlington.
Always Darlington. Even though the tires would fall off pretty quick.
Didn't matter. It was really fun for a couple laps.
Yeah. What about
and then
you?
Atlanta and Charlotte were the other two. Like,
Probably Richmond.
Richmond.
Yeah. I always wanted to test at places I knew I could run good at.
Well, you ran good
So
at Richmond.
I didn't ever like. I didn't think there was no point in me testing at Dover. I'm not going to run good there anyway, so don't go waste your time going there. But
Did you? I always thought Richmond had a really good race when they'd put the old, what we call it, bear grease or sealer down or whatever.
Yes.
It'd just keep moving up,
Yeah.
moving up, and boy, it'd be.
And then
it'd be good.
then the bottom would come back in sometimes. You know?
Yeah.
So it was one of my favorite racetracks for sure. Yeah.
Do you remember that time they put that stuff down at Atlanta? It was like 93, 94.
Yes. Yes.
You know, Earnhardt and Mark Martin, you knew, like, they'd get to the end of pit road, and they'd leave pit road, and it was just wide open. And just wide open into three, right? So that morning, first time on the racetrack, Earnhardt goes out, just pulling gears down to three, hits that stuff, boom, just backs in the fence, tore up. And I said to Jeff, look, you know, be careful, Earnhardt, you know, just busted his butt. You know, it's slick out there, and he leaves pit road, same thing, right in Earnhardt's skid marks. Boom, kills 24 car. And then everybody took it a little bit easier after that. Did you ever run in that stuff?
Just Richmond. That was
it was interesting.
Now, years ago, you say you like Darlington. Years ago, I can remember going to Darlington, and they used to run the race on Monday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We practice on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. The track wouldn't be open on Sunday, and then a race on Monday. And sometimes on Sunday they would put a sealer on that track. It'd be like,
After everything was done.
yeah, it's like, oh wow, you'd come in there and just be shiny. on Monday morning, it's like, oh my God, you know.
And it wasn't like it was going to be a nice cool day at Darlington.
Yeah, right.
It's about as hot as I've ever been standing there on pit road
Exactly. Yeah.
at Darlington.
Yeah.
Gosh, and, you know, remember how fast it was when they paved it? It didn't last long, but remember that?
It was fast.
95, they paved it.
I don't remember what year it was, but it was fast.
It was fast. Yeah. And then in a year later, it was the same old
It looked
Darlington.
like it looked before they paved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing like there in Rockingham were really good places to run that. Did you get to run Rockingham?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean that was a good place to watch a race from.
Yep. Yeah, the swell bumps down in 3 and 4, you go through whoa, like you're on a tube behind somebody's boat, just going through there.
Yeah, that's right.
And you know, you could stand down in the corner there and watch. You know, it's like watching. There'd be a car in front of you here, but it was like watching a driving theater. There'd be a car 30 feet up in the air behind the bank, and they'd go just as fast, and they'd.
That's right.
Phew.
Yeah.
You know, it was always a fun. Again, another hard place to call a race though because of the tire wear.
That's one of the things I found interesting with knowing where we were last year with the modified race here and saving our tires. And I was thinking to myself, like, are they really going to save their tires? Because in the open, we had a 40 lap and a 60 lap window. Well, there was nothing that said you had to take tires at 40. if we would have had a caution, we could have put a set of stickers on it, 20 to go. So I'm like, what are they going to do at the start of the race? Are they going to save their tires? But no, everybody now just runs 110%.
Yeah.
And even going 20 years back, like Mark Martin, Tony Stewart, some other guys, they just let you go. Just go ahead. I'll be back by in just a few. Just give me a little bit. And then they did. I mean, Rockingham was a perfect example of that.
Right.
Of guys who just give up at the start of the run. And then next thing you know, after you've led the first 30 laps later, you're a lap down.
Yeah.
And I did that. I mean, it's not possible. I'm like, no, my car's good. I'm like, no, but you burned the tires off it, Ryan.
Think about that now that, they've developed, the tires are good. The guys were saying that the other night, that you just go and they all kind of drop off the same, whether you go hard or whether you save tires. What do you think? What can they do to we asked for tire degradation and it slowed down, but like everybody slowed down exactly the same.
I don't know. I've been sit at home and watch it on TV.
Tough,
what do I know?
it's a tough task to do what Goodyear does. You know that we've been through several tire tests where like you ask for something and then they give it to you. Like, no, we don't want exactly that.
I was just watching it the other night and I thought, man, they did an incredible job. I'm going to tell you, it was like coming to any concert, show. It was amazing electricity here and stuff. And you think, okay, man, we just need them cars to run a little bit more side by side, and I say that as, if I was the crew chief sitting on the 5 box or the 5 car, I wouldn't care. I would want to stink up the show just like they did. I thought, man, I need to get the old Bill France, don't stink up my show, black flag back out or something. Did you ever get that chat about I got my black flag and I'll use it if you stink up my show?
Nope.
What about you? Did you ever get that?
No, mine was yellow flag.
Yellow flag?
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I was leading, running away at Michigan in the Busch car back in the Busch days, and they threw a caution for debris on pit road.
It was a tire. I rolled it out there.
No, there was nothing there. But on the radio, it was debris on pit road.
Yeah, I gotcha. It was that whole thing about putting that show on is what built this sport. And we just got to make sure that we're always taking care of the people, because I'll tell you what, the other night they were excited and it was really, really good to see that. Oh well, so having a teammate. So, but I guess then, if you put the senior series together and we got to run, I wouldn't run aluminum. I'd say let's take a '95 Monte Carlo. I was never very good with aluminum, but let's just say you had to run like a mid-'90s stock car with the safety improvements. Would that interest you? No. And you're honest.
Yeah.
No hesitation either.
What about you though? Like you'd be going back in time.
I like that. I think that's cool. Like, I still say the coolest, and you know this, some of the coolest race cars, if not the coolest race car ever built, was an Indy Roadster. Mm-hmm. Like that, if you told me if I could pick any time to ever race, that's what I would go back and want to do.
You just put a roll bar on it or something? No. Huh? Well, you're not as smart as I thought you were.
No, because I still say, look at like AJ and Mario, how as many laps as they ran to live through it all with running over a piece of metal or a lug nut or something, something just to not have to be able to live through what they lived through is just as amazing to me.
They have some great stories. Were you came in 79?
78.
78. So you would have raced with AJ, right?
Oh yeah.
You got to race. Think, but when you think got to race with one of the greatest.
Yeah.
I don't think Mario ran any stock cars after that, right?
No, I ran against Mario in the IROC series. No.
Right, I'd forgotten you got to do that with Mario.
Yeah.
And did you get to ever race with either one of them, or were they gone? Who was the guy that when you got there, you're like, man, it's cool, I'm getting to race with that guy? Who was that guy?
That was my first Cup start, and the only time I got a chance to was Dale Earnhardt at Phoenix in 2000. That was just, I remember we had a windshield tear off, land square on the grill, and overheated, and came into pit, and I left pit road, and I look up at the mirror going down into turn 3, and here's a black 3 car coming, and I just got out of the way. I'm like, because if he needs a yellow, I'm going to be real quick here. So I just got out of the way, and I never got a chance to race with him again. So.
And who was that guy for you, Terry?
Would have been AJ Foyt.
Would have been AJ, yeah. Another Texan.
Yeah.
Texan.
You know, when I grew up living in South Texas, of course, this is back before the, you know, everything was on TV and the radio. We could go to the beach, Padre Island, and pick up a Houston radio station to listen to a NASCAR race. Okay, that was the only way you could even know anything about it, you know. But on our local news, they always covered AJ Foyt every weekend. The sports did, you know, and that was back when he was winning in the Indy cars, whatever he ran in, you know. And so he always, you know, he was my hero growing up. And the first time I got to race against him was at Daytona, and it was a qualifying race. I think he finished third, and I finished fourth. And so I just stayed right behind him. I'm like, I'm just staying right here, you know. And he sent somebody over to get me after the qualifying race, and he wanted to meet me because he knew I was from Corpus and stuff. So, but you know, that was the first time I ever talked to him. But he was, what a cool guy, and it was really just I can remember when he went to the IROC race one time, and he ran the IROC series. He led every race we ran that year, 4 races, you know, at different tracks. And at one point, he led every one of them. I thought, well, that's pretty impressive right there. And then we went to Mid-Ohio.
Yep.
The next year, I think. I went to Mid-Ohio and practiced. Harry Gant and I went up there, and I just practiced till I spun out, which would be like 3 laps, you know. And Harry would practice, he'd make 2 laps, you know, and he'd spin out, we'd get 4 tires and go back out and run. It was the hardest track I ever drove. I'm like, my God. And AJ didn't show up at practice. He just got in the car and raced. And I thought to myself, well, if he leads this one, he's gonna show me something here. He didn't make the first lap. And so he ended up finishing right behind me in the race, but he didn't have a right front fender left. So, but I thought to myself, my God, if he could drive this track and not ever go around it, that's impressive.
Well,
but
that had elevation changes and all that stuff.
Hard
it
track,
was different. Yeah.
Really hard track.
Yeah, but I don't know. A lot of people don't know how quick your career came. Like, you came to Cup early. I did 78 or so, and then what, by 80, not 81, you were 84, you were the champ. But you won your first year.
Because you won 1980.
Won Darlington, right?
I came and ran. My first race was in Darlington in 1978, and Billy Hagan had been sponsoring my late model car down in South Texas. We'd race in Houston mostly. We'd go to Louisiana some and run, but so he sponsored my car. We'd race in San Antonio, Houston, Louisiana, and so he said, "Hey, why don't you move to North Carolina, and we're going to run 5 races in the Cup car." So I said, "Okay." Well, he ran that by me, and so I said, "Okay, let me think about it." So I was telling my dad about it. My dad said, "What'd you tell him?" I said, "I told him I'd think about it." My dad looked at me and said, "You told him what?" I said, "Well, I'd think about it, you know. I'm still living at home. My parents are still buying a tank of gas a week for me, you know. I mean, do I want to give this up, you know?" And so, anyway, I called Billy back. I said, "Okay, yeah, I'd like to do that." So I moved to Charlotte, and Skip Manning was driving the car.
Yeah.
And so I just went with the team to all these races, and I wasn't sure what this. I thought, this is not really going like I thought it was going to go. And my dad sold my car. I'm like, "Oh, great, I can't go back and run my car now." And so I get a phone call one day, and Billy said, "Hey, go down to the shop." Him and Skip had a falling out, you know, and so he said, "Go down there, and Skip's going to meet you and get the keys to the shop and look and make sure everything's there. And okay, give me a call." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I told my wife, I said, "Listen, if you don't hear from me, like in 30 minutes, come looking for me or call the cops. Something has happened to me." And so I go down there, and I walk in, and Skip's there, and he looks at me, and he said, "Here's the keys," and he dropped them on the desk, and he said, "Have fun." And he walked out the door, and I took the keys, and I locked the door behind him. And I went in there, and I looked at all this stuff. I called Billy, I said, "Yeah, it's all here." He said, "Okay, good. He said, Darrell Bryant is coming up there next week, and y'all get the car ready to go to Darlington. I said, Darlington? He said, yeah. I said, Billy, I was kind of more thinking about Wilkesboro or Martinsville, you know, my first race. He said, oh, we're going to go there too, but we're going to Darlington first. I said, okay. So Darrell came up there, him and another guy, it was 3 of us, got the car ready, put the motor in it, went to Darlington, and I finished. I had to do a rookie test, you know, down there. Remember, I had to do that. And I ended up, I finished 4th my first race. And it was the longest race I ever ran in my life. I mean, the longest race I think I'd run before that was a 200 lapper on a half-mile track, right? And this was 500 miles.
Oh yeah, Darlington, a good 4.5 hours, 5 hours in the Southern 500 there.
Lasted forever. And I never thought about, I looked at the scoreboard a couple times to see how many laps were left, you know? I never thought about looking up a number up there. And I had no idea where I finished after the race. I pulled in, and everybody's like, yeah, way to go, way to go. I said, where did we finish? They said, 4th. I said, really? Geez, okay, cool. So I was exhausted. I mean, I was just wore out. And I remember I went to the motel, and my wife had to wake me up at noontime the next day. I said, hey, we got to check out and go home. So I said, okay. But that was my first race. And then I came back. I think I finished 3rd in 79, and then I won it in 80. So.
I remember, because that was a heck of a rookie battle in 79.
79, it was Harry Gant,
Dale, you,
Joe Milligan, and me.
Yeah, I mean that was.
I think 3 of us finished in the top 10 in points that year.
I said it was a heck of a rookie battle.
Yeah.
And then, Ryan, you were kicking butt. USAC, you know, the midgets, the sprints, and the Silver Crown car. And Jeff and I actually tested you when we were putting our Busch deal together because we were trying to find the next Jeff Gordon coming out of that open wheel stuff. And Don Miller, we hesitated. Don Miller put you in what do you call it, an ABC program or something?
Program, yeah, after we did the first ARCA start. Yeah, that was it. We went to Memphis, and I can't remember who was there with me, but I remember somebody.
Jimmy Johnson, right? Wasn't Jimmy Johnson?
I don't think Jimmy was at that.
Okay.
I don't think Buddy wasn't at that test, if I remember right. But I remember Jeff kept. I'd get in the car, run a few runs, then Jeff would get in the car, and Jeff was always hitting the chip going into the corner. I'm thinking to myself, because I know what the chip means. Chip means I'm not driving in hard enough, right? So and I was terrified because I didn't want to tear the car. You tear the car up.
You and Jeff were sitting in the same seat?
Yeah, he was pretty big back then.